Good morning, Nigeria, and I make you welcome. This is Enterprise Weekend, reaching you from Enterprise Television from our corporate headquarters in Lagos State, Nigeria. I am Henry Igwebike, and today let's kickstart the day with our newspapers to see through everything that we have there. And fortunate enough, we have 4 newspapers. I just hope that we have more than enough time to do justice to every one of them. The Vanguard, the Punch newspaper, the Weekend Trust, which is the weekend version of the Daily Trust newspaper, and lastly, the Guardian newspaper for today. And right after that will be our conversation where we have an inside scoop, fleshing out some of the most trendy stories from the newspapers. And we would love that you'll be part of what we do. Have a say in what we say. You can reach us when you visit us at enterprisetvnews.com. You may equally comment and follow us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV7. Very so honored to have joining me from Delta State, Nigeria is His Greatness Agadaigo, barrister, public affairs analyst, and a development communicator. Good morning to you, barrister, and I make you welcome to Enterprise Morning today.
Good morning, Mr. Henry Igwebike. Always a pleasure. Very glad to be here today again.
Thank you so very much, Barrister, for your time. Truly do appreciate you. Now, I'd love us to start with the Weekend Trust newspaper. We have a very interesting one. But just before I get to the big elephant in the room here, let's take a look at what's happening on the top strip of the same Weekend Trust. Turaki Wike factions renew battle for secretariat. I do not know if this will ever see an end before 2027 because lots of divergent views here and there. And close to the story, we have months of labor wiped out in 48 hours. Tomato farmers cry out. I do not know if it's because of the mayhem as a result of insurgency in the northern part of Nigeria, but we will see what that means for us here. Borno molded in ABU, story of Professor Aisha Haman. And also on the bottom strip, we have Igboho's journey from fugitive to a freedom, the genesis of Ikorodu, and many other interesting stories. But let's get to the elephant in the room here. 7 trillion, 4 presidents, Nigeria still in darkness. Barrister, I can gladly tell you that every young chap, all right, who is whatever they are today, the first word they ever muted out is up NEPA. It's become a very popular slogan in Nigeria, and that is because of deficit of electricity in Nigeria. Now we have it, 7 trillion naira, 4 presidents, Nigeria still in darkness. Would we ever get out of this maze, Barrister?
Yes, we will, and we shall. When we have the right leadership. That's just the truth. We have square pegs in square hole, competent Nigerian citizens handling sensitive sectors of the Nigerian economy and the Nigerian Federation. Then you get results. I'm sure we saw the turnaround of 1999 to 2003 to ensure that the military were properly catered to the barracks and also settle the international isolation Nigeria faced and also settle the internal political issues. That's what he used his first time to do. In his second tenure, when he came between 2003 to 2007, he now dealt with the economy. He dealt with industrialization, the issue of ensuring that Nigeria is highly industrialized. He brought MTN and co, and liberated the telecom sector. He tried to ensure the phase by phase facing off of the fuel subsidy regime to also liberalize the upstream sector of the petroleum industry. And of course, he did quite a lot of economic reforms, high savings, ensured our GDP grew up through Soludo, Okonjo-Iweala tag team of the economic tag team. And we saw a lot. And even he now set the pace for us to be able to realize viable electricity sector.
But Barrister, he didn't try. Yes, Barrister, sorry to interject you there. Amongst everything you've enumerated here, you would agree with me that President Olusegun Obasanjo did not try with respect to electricity. Trillions of or billions of naira was invested in electricity at the time. Atiku Abubakar was the one in charge of privatization of everything in Nigeria, including electricity. And we didn't achieve anything with electricity. So lots of people are saying that if Obasanjo had gotten it right at the time, from 1999 to 2007 with electricity, we wouldn't be having it this bad. Do you agree with that?
I don't agree with that, because that's the greatest success in our electricity reform agenda that we have achieved up till now. That's why I was giving you historical analysis from 1999 to 2023. You know, it was actually in Obasanjo tried to enhance our electricity distribution with the current way they are from 1999 to 2003. And you remember Bola Ige, the Minister of Power, boasted that he will fix electricity sector within 6 months.
Yes.
And he failed. And Obasanjo had to redeploy him to Minister of Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice. So it was that they did a report, and they said that many of our installations and electricity devices are outdated. So you cannot achieve any meaningful electricity production and distribution with what we have. And we now settled to even decentralize, not only depending on hydro the dam for electricity. That's when we brought in gas turbines as an alternative for electricity generation. And he provided all those. There was a power roadmap which he embarked on. And that's why I was giving you the antecedents. And they have largely achieved it phase by, and they even spelled out phase by phase progress. But unfortunately, immediately Obasanjo left office, this is what happened. When Yar'Adua came in, Yar'Adua was one of the reasons Yar'Adua was supported by Obasanjo is that he will carry these reforms, because continuity in government has been the bane of our underdevelopment. Continuity in government agenda, in government reform agenda, in government policies is the bane of our gross mass underdevelopment till today. So we are try to continue. But now politics stepped in. Obasanjo went for a caucus meeting with the then PDP national chairman, with Yar'Adua, and because he was not happy with Bankole, he shut out Bankole from the meeting. When he shut out Bankole, who was then Speaker of House of Rep, Bankole became angry. And a day or two later, they now set up Power Probe, which was supposed to get back at Obasanjo, headed by Elumelu from my state, Delta State, in Anyocha South or thereabout. And the Power Probe, even without any thorough investigation, came out with a vindictive report that the Obasanjo government spent $16 billion on power without producing power. And the entire 8 years of Obasanjo's regime, they never budgeted $16 billion on power. In fact, I wonder whether the entire the entire budget of Obasanjo's 8 years was up to $16 billion. So it was just a mere fabrication. And people and opposition jumped in on that, and we are hammering 16 billion. And even Yar'Adua then disputed that there was never any 16 billion budgeted to power sector. They'll just go to an empty land, what we are doing there, to say our money has been eaten, this and that. They'll just say this has been eaten. That's what they were doing. But at the end of the day, I'm sure you remember that even Elumelu self was even indicted by EFCC and charged to court for corruption. I'm sure you know that. You know that. And the entire Power Probe was seen as not credible. The entire report was discountenanced. There was no white report, paper report came out of it. It amounted to nothing. But up till today, you know, bad news spread more than good news. People still carry it off. $16 billion during Obasanjo's latest expense of power. There was never any 16 billion. It was just a fabulous hula baloo story meant to be told to sway, to enrage Nigerians against Obasanjo and his lieutenants, which failed long ago. So coming back home now, I'm not telling you that reform agenda of Obasanjo is even what we are still operating till now, because during Yar'Adua time it was not really just implemented. Are you still there? Are you hearing me?
Yes, very well. I can hear you.
Are you there?
Yes, very well. I can hear you, Barrister.
It was not really just implemented because, of course, I'm sure one of the greatest mistakes I believe Obasanjo should know he made till now is even supporting Yar'Adua to be president. Because it's one thing a leader needs is good faith. A leader should be good, has good faith. But a leader also needs knowledge.
All right.
He must be knowledgeable about the things that he's coming to address, the solutions being proffered, what are the results being gotten, so that he will know where to take off from. One of the greatest mistakes I believe Obasanjo made is even making Yar'Adua, is even supporting Yar'Adua to succeeding, because Yar'Adua was just in Katsina State. He never understood the reforms. He never understood what they were supposed to achieve. He now brought different personnel to come with him in government who did not understand it. So many of these reforms, all Obasanjo's were discontinuous. If you were very politically and active in 2007, immediately Yar'Adua took place. Every day, Obasanjo's reform agenda, one of them will be set aside. That's what the news every day. This is set aside. That is set aside. That's what they were doing, and they failed. And Nigerians were, including the refinery, which has been privatized to Dangote and Otedola, to save Nigeria cost of paying personnel, of continuing to do refurbishment, so that a new people will operate it and spend it, and fresh investment will come into that sector. Yar'Adua reversed it, and Nigerians celebrated. In fact, when Nigerians were celebrating, then I was crying, because at least I followed Obasanjo's policies, and you can see he did that out of inexperience, and that's why I believe that the best person, despite Obasanjo's misgiving about Atiku Abubakar, the best person that would have taken over from Obasanjo is Atiku, who understood the reform and who would have held, no matter what you think about Atiku or what he is or what he's done, he would have managed those reforms until they yield maximum benefits to Nigeria.
Yes.
So now the point
because we have so many other stories to talk about. We have PPDP issues, the tussle there. So I'd love you to finish on your thought on this one before we move on to that one in 60 seconds, if you may.
Okay, let me land up. Let me land in 60 seconds. I can.
All right.
When Goodluck Jonathan took over in 2011 or thereabouts, he now went back with full commitment to Obasanjo's power reform agenda. And one of the stages is that you have to pay off all NEPA and PHCN personnel, so that pay them off, so that you have fresh hands, so that the Jinkos and can have they can employ staff based on their own terms. And Goodluck Jonathan saw that process to completion. I think they paid, if not over 800 billion naira or 1 trillion to settle all NEPAs to PHCN staff, so that the Jinkos have free hand to conduct their affairs the way. And that was a very high point, because the power reform agenda is not a one-stage affair. It has its phase. Okay. So it moved it forward, of course, so that you cannot effectively monitor those who have bought these powers, various Benicity electricity distribution, I think Eco distribution, and the rest. You cannot effectively monitor them. to do
All
to
right.
fulfill their obligation.
Yes.
So that's where we are. So
right.
what we need.
Yes, thank you so very much, because we have lots of other stories to talk about here. And just before we end on this electricity issue, it's actually quite shameful that we're discussing this, because if Nigerians understand where we were coming from, then they would know we would have gone past this situation. Now, for historical purposes here, Lagos, that is Nigeria, first saw electricity on September 19th, 1898. When the colonial administrators installed 60 kilowatts power plant to light up the Marina area of Lagos. And in 1901, electricity was extended to Ido and Ebutemeta area via underground cables. Now, Nigeria had electricity 17 years before the United Kingdom, and today we still do not have electricity in 2026. Very so unfortunate. But Barrister, let's take a look at a PDP for a bit here. There's still the struggle for who owns the secretariat in Abuja. We have it from the Weekend Trust newspaper. Turaki Wike faction renew battle for secretariat. So who does the secretariat belong to now? Is it the Wike faction or the Turaki faction? It's important that you state where it belongs to. You are a
first of all, before I will even answer that question, let me just satisfy my spirit.
All right, please do.
Even they said we were supplying Ghana, or an African country electricity, but now they have more stable electricity than us. So when you're managed, and that's where leadership is the key. When a leader is good, people rejoice because he will do the right things. So when a leader fails to do the right things, those who you were helping, supplying, they will now be far better off than you, So that's why leadership is key. Leadership is key for development. Leadership is key for progress. Leadership is key in securing the future of any nation. So coming straight to PDP, I think the latest round of PDP crisis is INEC generated PDP crisis by Joash Amopito. Please correct me.
Amopito.
I'm not so happy with him, so I've even forgotten
Amopito
his name. I'm not very happy with him.
It's your senior colleague, by the way.
It's too early in the day for him to start disappointing Nigeria in this manner. And why I say this is, for example, he's a lawyer. He's a senior lawyer, and he's a professor who teaches law to students. And so I'm sure he has taught his students in the university was teaching what the meaning of a stay of execution. Stay of execution. When a court gives judgment, maybe a land, Henry, now your father's land, for example, court gives judgment for your opponent that he has the land. You now get me, His Greatness Agadaegu, to file an appeal. I now file a notice of appeal. And I also now file a stay of execution. Then Joash Amopito is the judge in the matter. Then I now file it before the court. Joash Amopito, who is the judge, sees that I have filed for Henry Igwebike notice of appeal and stay of execution. He still goes ahead and orders execution that your opponent can go ahead and enforce his possession of that land in one way or the other. It is so embarrassing. It is so unfortunate. And it is very, very, especially for the teaching legal profession. Let me even leave teaching law practice now for the teaching, because you ought to be an example of what you teach. So what he's saying now is that there's another interpretation of stay of execution. So why will he in the first instance, he invited the two PDP factions when there was no even faction. Because as far as the procedure that INEC has been following is that once there's a conduct of an election, and winners are declared and sworn in, and there's a challenge in court, and if a court gives judgment, they will wait until the final court, Supreme Court, now gives the final judgment. So for the INEC already knew that it is even Turaki that is the, for now, legally recognized chairman as for, because he conducted a known, widely advertised PDP convention, and he has been sworn in. So if there's any challenge, wait for the ultimate court to decide before you swing the leadership. So he called them and refused to recognize Turaki and said they should wait for appeal court. Federal High Court gave judgment. Federal High Court now gave a judgment. Now, and for what? And PDP filed notice of appeal and stay of execution. Yet you still recognize the caretaker leadership. What is it? So what is telling us that stay of notice of appeal and stay of execution no more have any legal value, or there's a new interpretation or implication of what stay of execution? Because why I'm saying this, because I know some time ago during this Iron's case and the rest with PDP, Minister Wike was saying that filing stay of execution should not mean anything, should not matter. It is only when the Court of Appeal has issued an order for stay of execution, that's the one that should be valid. But that's not the legal implication. The legal implication, because we all do cases and we file stay of execution. The legal implication is that once you file stay of execution, every part, you cannot execute that judgment until that stay of execution is either set aside by that court or by the appellate court, or judgment is given in appeal. But I'm sorry to say this, Amotekun has not disappointed us. If he has not even fully regained the confidence of Nigerians. Nigerians are even watching him to see what his steps will be because of the great disappointment of elections of 2023 and the past leadership of INEC. They have not fully embraced him. They are still giving him serious observation on how he steps, and yet he is failing. His first few steps in office is already faltering. It's a painful disappointment that is highly regrettable, and I advise him from your studio to immediately reverse the decision to offer any kind of recognition to the caretaker committee based on the stay of execution, or he should tell us the new legal implications.
So what you're saying, Barrister, is that stay in execution cannot be appealed? Is that what you're saying? Barrister, can you hear me?
Sorry, sir. Let me just conclude on it. The second authority I will blame for PDP crisis, with due respect, is the National Judicial Council, because the National Judicial Council for now has failed to live up to its calling and its duties. Because the National Judicial Council is supposed to be proactive, not reactive. When you see national scenarios that will diminish the judiciary, you don't wait for petitions. You act immediately. You're supposed to be proactive. The first court, Justice Omotosho's court, gave a judgment that defied the Supreme Court by interfering with the internal affairs of a political party. They did not invite Justice Omotosho to make explanations or to even query him. So it emboldened other judges.
All right.
The second judge too, I think maybe Justice Lee, gave a judgment entering into the Supreme Court's judgment is clear. And when you contradict or defy them, it's like you are their judicial authority from Court of Appeal that says that you are in a supremacy battle with the Supreme Court. That's what the judicial authorities say. That if you defy what the Supreme Court have said in any matter, then what you are doing, what that lower court is doing, is that you are in a supremacy battle with the highest court in the land, which is forbidden.
Well,
so
Barrister,
that is enough ground to punish any judge who defies the position of the Supreme Court in any matter. Even if the Supreme Court is wrong, you dare not defy his position on that matter. So the NJC failed to act on Justice Lifu, and that is what has now emboldened other judges to interfere not only with the meetings, convention of PDP, internal affairs, but even the leadership. They now see that because what the NJC may not know is that what some judges are now saying is that the National Judicial Council is now a toothless bulldog. It's not a toothless bulldog.
Well,
in
Barrister,
the past, just a while ago, during the Justice Onoge's time, during this Justice Tanko Mohammed's time, they used to say the fear of the National Judicial Council is the beginning of wisdom for any judge. So I completely agree with the NBA president, Afam Ozigwe, who have said that once petitions are written to NJC against any judge, the judge should be immediately suspended while investigations are going on. This
all right,
will help in a great way.
Yes, Barrister, I truly do understand. I understand the emotion that you carry, because you are you have a skin in the game as a lawyer and equally a card-carrying member of the PDP. I understand how it feels like, but unfortunately, we are living and sitting in a country where anyhowness has become a norm in Nigeria. Everyone is singing, literally singing, on your mandate we shall stand. So when people defy the whatever it is the Supreme Court is bringing to the table, you can't blame them. Anyhowness is the norm today. Everyone is singing, on your mandate we shall stand. And I hope that we would recorrect all of these issues and possibly have a judiciary where Nigerians will run to. Lots of people will say it's better for them to take their wahala to very dark man than to take it to our courts, because it's easier to get judgment from the very dark man. If someone is owing you, it's easier to get back your money from the very dark man than to get it from our police or the court. So you can see how bad the situation is. But Barrister will be here to take us on our main conversation when we return. U.S. troops will not fight Nigeria's war, retired general warns. A bit Enterprise Weekend it is. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back.